Hungary entered the Second World War as a minor Axis power with an air force that punched above its weight. What follows covers every significant aircraft that flew under Hungarian authority from 1941 to 1945. The Reggiane RE-2000 Héja. Hungary acquired the Italian Reggiane RE-2000 and designated it the Héja, meaning hawk. Powered by a Manfred Weiss-built radial engine, it reached around 530 kilometers per hour. Hungary license-built the type domestically, making it one of the few nations to produce an Italian design on home soil. It served as the primary Hungarian fighter in the opening Eastern Front campaign of 1941 and 1942, performing adequately against Soviet opposition of comparable generation before more capable types became available through German supply channels. The Fiat CR-42. Hungary operated a small number of Fiat CR-42 biplane fighters, Italy's last refined biplane design. Powered by a Fiat A74 radial engine reaching around 440 kilometers per hour, it was already obsolete when Hungary flew it. Its role was confined to training, night harassment, and secondary patrol duties where modern fighter opposition was unlikely to be encountered. It represented the older layer of Hungarian aviation inventory that remained nominally in service while more capable monoplane types carried the operational burden of frontline combat. The Fiat G50. Hungary received the Fiat G50 Freccia monoplane fighter from Italy, a more capable type than the CR-42 it supplemented. Powered by a Fiat A74 radial and reaching around 470 kilometers per hour, it served Hungarian fighter units in the early Eastern Front period. Its open cockpit and light armament of 2 machine guns limited its effectiveness in sustained combat, but Hungarian pilots appreciated its handling characteristics and used it competently in the interception and patrol roles before transitioning to German-supplied types that offered superior performance. The Messerschmitt Bf-109E. Germany supplied Hungary with Bf-109E fighters as the alliance deepened through 1941 and 1942. Powered by a Daimler-Benz DB601 inline engine, the Emil reached around 570 kilometers per hour and carried cannon armament that gave it genuine lethality against Soviet aircraft. Hungarian pilots who transitioned to the Bf-109E found themselves flying a machine significantly more capable than anything they had previously operated. It flew air superiority and escort missions on the Eastern Front, where Hungarian fighter units established a creditable operational record against Soviet Air Force opposition. The Messerschmitt Bf-109F. The Bf-109F represented a refined development over the Emil, with aerodynamic improvements and a more powerful engine that pushed performance to around 600 kilometers per hour. Hungarian units received the Friedrich in limited numbers, flying it alongside the earlier Emil variant. The F model's improved high-altitude performance and handling made it a more capable air superiority platform, and Hungarian pilots who flew it on the Eastern Front found the additional performance margin meaningful in engagements against improving Soviet fighter types that were appearing in increasing numbers by 1942 and 1943. The Messerschmitt Bf-109G. The Bf-109G became the primary fighter of the Hungarian Air Force in the later war years, equipping frontline units as older variants were retired. Powered by the DB605 engine and reaching around 640 kilometers per hour, the Gustav provided Hungarian pilots with a genuinely capable platform against both Soviet and later Anglo-American opposition. Hungarian Bf-109G pilots flew defensive missions over Hungary itself as Allied bombing raids reached the country in 1944, engaging American bomber formations and their escorts in some of the most demanding air combat faced by any Axis minor power. The Heinkel HE-112. Hungary operated the Heinkel HE-112, a German fighter design that had competed unsuccessfully against the Bf-109 for Luftwaffe adoption. Powered by a Junkers Jumo inline engine reaching around 480 kilometers per hour, it carried cannon armament and performed reasonably in air combat against early war Soviet opposition. Hungary was among the few nations to put the HE-112 into meaningful operational service, flying it in the opening phases of the Eastern Front campaign before the type was withdrawn as Bf-109 deliveries provided a more capable and logistically simpler replacement. The Caproni CA-135. Hungary operated the Italian Caproni CA-135 twin-engine medium bomber, acquired in the late 1930s as the backbone of Hungarian bomber aviation. Powered by two Hungarian-built Manfred Weiss engines, it carried a meaningful bomb load at speeds around 420 kilometers per hour. It flew bombing missions on the Eastern Front against Soviet targets in the opening campaign of 1941, suffering losses that reflected its vulnerability to Soviet fighter interception. Its defensive armament was modest, and it was progressively withdrawn from frontline bombing duties as more capable German types became available. The Junkers Ju-86. Hungary operated the Junkers Ju-86 twin-engine bomber, a German design that had entered Luftwaffe service in the mid-1930s before being displaced by more capable types. In Hungarian service, it flew as a medium bomber and reconnaissance platform, conducting operations in the early Eastern Front period. Its high-altitude performance in the reconnaissance role gave it some continued utility after its value as a bomber diminished. Hungarian crews flew it in conditions that the aircraft's modest performance made increasingly difficult as Soviet air defenses strengthened through the Middle War years. The Junkers Ju-88. Hungary received Junkers Ju-88 aircraft from Germany, bringing a significantly more capable twin-engine platform into the Hungarian bomber inventory. Fast, versatile, and capable of both level bombing and dive attack profiles, the Ju-88 reached around 470 kilometers per hour and carried a substantial bomb load. Hungarian crews flew it against Soviet targets on the Eastern Front and later in reconnaissance and maritime patrol roles over the Black Sea region. It was the most capable bomber type to serve in Hungarian colors and represented the peak of Hungarian strike aviation. The Heinkel HE-111P. The Heinkel HE-111P served Hungarian bomber units as a medium bomber on the Eastern Front. Twin-engined and capable of carrying a useful bomb load, it flew level bombing missions against Soviet infrastructure and rear area targets. Hungarian crews flew it alongside Luftwaffe units in the coordinated Axis air effort on the southern sector of the Eastern Front. The type's modest defensive armament made it increasingly vulnerable as Soviet fighter capability improved, and Hungarian units sought to conduct missions in conditions that minimized exposure to interception. The Focke-Wulf FW-189. Hungary received Focke-Wulf FW-189 twin-boom reconnaissance aircraft for Army cooperation duties on the Eastern Front. Specifically designed for observation and artillery direction, the FW-189 featured an extensively glazed crew nacelle that provided outstanding all-around visibility. Hungarian crews flew it over the fluid front lines of the Eastern Front, conducting the essential reconnaissance and spotting work that supported Hungarian ground forces. Its low-speed maneuverability and robust construction helped it operate in the contested low-altitude environment where Army cooperation aircraft were most exposed to ground fire and fighter interception. The Heinkel HE-46. Hungary operated the Heinkel HE-46 as an Army cooperation and reconnaissance aircraft, a parasol-wing monoplane of early 1930s design. By wartime standards, it was thoroughly dated, slow, and lightly armed, but it served Hungarian Army aviation units in the observation role, where its vulnerability was partially offset by careful operational management. Hungarian crews flew it in reconnaissance missions over the Eastern Front in the opening campaign phases before more capable types were available in sufficient numbers to replace it in the frontline Army cooperation role. The WM-21 Sólyom, meaning Falcon, was a Hungarian-designed and domestically produced reconnaissance and Army cooperation biplane built by Manfred Weiss. Powered by a locally produced radial engine, it served Hungarian Army aviation units in the observation role during the early war period. It represented Hungary's genuine commitment to domestic aviation production and provided a capable reconnaissance platform suited to the low-altitude, low-speed work of Army cooperation. Its crews flew it in direct support of Hungarian ground forces on the Eastern Front through the opening phases of the campaign. The WM-23 Ezüst Nyíl, meaning Silver Arrow, was a Hungarian-designed advanced trainer and light aircraft produced by Manfred Weiss. It served the Hungarian Air Force's flying schools as an intermediate training platform, bridging the gap between primary instruction and operational aircraft conversion. In a small air force dependent on maintaining a trained aircrew pipeline, the training infrastructure was operationally essential, and the Ezüst Nyíl played a consistent role in producing the pilots who flew Hungary's frontline types throughout the war years. The Bücker Bu-131 Jungmann. Hungary operated the German Bücker Bu-131 Jungmann as a primary trainer, a light two-seat biplane used throughout the Hungarian Air Force's flying schools. Simple, reliable, and forgiving of student errors, it introduced Hungarian pilot candidates to the fundamentals of flight before progression to more demanding types. Its widespread use across Axis training establishments reflected its genuine quality as a teaching aircraft, and Hungarian instructors relied on it consistently through the war years to produce the initial stage of pilot qualification. The Bücker Bu-133 Jungmeister. The Bücker Bu-133 Jungmeister was a single-seat advanced aerobatic trainer that served Hungarian flying schools as a precision handling and aerobatic instruction platform. More demanding than the Jungmann it complemented, it developed the refined stick and rudder skills that operational fighter pilots required. Hungarian instructors used it to push student pilots toward the standard of airmanship that frontline service demanded, and its presence in the training system contributed to the quality of Hungarian fighter pilots who subsequently flew Bf-109s in combat. The Arado R-96. The Arado R-96 served Hungarian aviation as an advanced monoplane trainer, a German design adopted widely across Axis air forces for the final stage of pilot training before operational conversion. Low wing and closed cockpit, and with retractable undercarriage, it familiarized student pilots with the handling characteristics they would encounter in frontline monoplane fighters. Hungarian trainees who progressed through the Jungmann, Jungmeister, and R-96 sequence arrived at operational units with a training foundation comparable to that of pilots in more established Axis air forces.
The Junkers U-52. The Junkers U-52 trimotor served Hungarian aviation in the transport and logistics role throughout the war. Robust and reliable, it moved personnel, supplies, and casualties across the operational theater in conditions that tested any aircraft. Hungarian U-52s supported ground forces on the Eastern Front and maintained connections between the Hungarian homeland and forward-deployed units across the vast distances of the southern Russian theater. Its steady contribution to operational logistics made it one of the most consistently useful aircraft in Hungarian service, despite its unglamorous role. The Focke-Wulf FW-58Y. The Focke-Wulf FW-58Y served Hungarian aviation as a multi-engine trainer and light transport. A twin-engine monoplane of practical design, it was used to develop the multi-engine handling skills required for bomber and transport crews, and to move personnel and light cargo on liaison duties. Its dual role as both a training and utility aircraft made it a versatile asset in a small air force where every aircraft was expected to justify its maintenance overhead through maximum operational flexibility. The Dornier Do-215. Hungary operated a small number of Dornier Do-215 twin-engine aircraft in the reconnaissance role. A development of the Do-17 bomber adapted for high-speed reconnaissance, it carried camera equipment and flew photographic missions over contested territory.
Its speed provided a degree of protection against interception, and Hungarian crews flew it to gather intelligence on Soviet positions and movements in support of Axis operational planning on the Eastern Front. It served in limited numbers, but filled a specific capability requirement within the Hungarian order of battle. Hungary flew German fighters, Italian bombers, and its own domestically built designs, capable, committed, and ultimately overwhelmed. It is the honest story of a small nation's air force caught inside a war far larger than itself.